So week 2, Monday, math, homework, answers. So number 1 is find an equivalent fraction. To find an equivalent fraction, you must multiply your numerator and your denominator by the same number. It can be any number you want as long as it's the same. In this case, I'm going to multiply times 2 because it's the easiest. So I'll multiply my numerator, 2 times 2, which is 4. Whatever I do to the top, I do to the bottom. So I need to multiply 3 times 2 to find an equivalent fraction of 4/6. Doing that again with B, I have 5/8. To find an equivalent fraction, I need to multiply them both by the same number. I will multiply times 5. Whatever I do to the top, I do to the bottom. And I find my equivalent fraction. 5 times 5 is 25. And 8 times 5 is 40. To get an equivalent fraction of 25/40. So you can have many different answers here as long as you multiplied your numerator and your denominator by the same number. For number 2, it says it takes Joey 1/16 of an hour to write one thank you card. How many cards can he write in 3/4 of an hour? So if it takes Joey 1/16 of an hour to write one thank you card, if we're trying to determine what he can write in 3/4, if we can get this denominator to match 16, then we'll be able to determine how many thank you cards he can write in 3/4 of an hour. So to get 4 to 16, I need to multiply that. 4 times 4 will give me 16. And again, whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So I multiply 3 times 4, and I get 12/16. So I know that Joey can make 12 thank you cards in 3/4 of an hour. If you wanted to use a diagram, I've already drawn one here that's cut up into fourths. I know that Joey has 3 out of 4 of an hour. And if I wanted to split these into 16ths, because I know that it takes him 1/16 to make one card, I would split these into 4s. And then from there, you can just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 cards in 3/4 of an hour, or 3/4. Number 3 is division. 4,965 divided by 18. Whenever you're doing multi-digit division problems, your best option is to do your multiplication problems off to the side first. I'm going to do these very quickly. I've already done them. 18 times 1 is 18. 18 times 2 is 36. 18 times 3 is 54. 18 times 4 is 72. 18 times 5 is 90. 18 times 6 was 108. And 18 times 7 is 126. Once I do all that multiplication, the division part is easy. So I ask myself, how many times does 18 go into 49? The answer is 2. I've already done that math. 2 times 18 is 36. And now I subtract. 9 minus 6 is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. I bring down my 6. And then I ask myself, how many times does 18 go into 136? I already did the math. The answer is 7. So 7 times 18 is 126. Now I subtract. 6 minus 6 is 0. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. And then I bring down my 5. How many times does 18 go into 105? The correct answer is 5. 5 times 18 was 90. And now I subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5. I can't do 0 minus 9, so I need to borrow. 10 minus 9 is 1. So I have a final answer of 275 with a remainder of 15. You can also write that remainder as the fraction 15 over 18. So 275 and 15/18. And if you are really, really into it, you can simplify that fraction of 15 over 18 to 5 over 6. Looking at number 4, we are subtracting decimals. The biggest thing here is to make sure that your decimals line up. When you line up your decimals, you have this open spot. We're going to fill that in with a placeholder. And then we're going to start with our subtraction. 9 minus 0 is 9. I can't do 0 minus 1, so I borrow from my 7. My 7 becomes a 6. My 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. My decimals line up. 6 minus 9 I can't do, so I borrow from my 8. The 8 becomes a 7. The 6 becomes a 16. 16 minus 9 is 7. 7 minus 2 is 5. Final answer, 57 and 99 hundredths. Number 5 is LCM, or lowest common multiple. To figure this one out, you need to determine the lowest common multiple is going to be determining what is the smallest number that both of these two have in common. So to figure these out, you need to write out your facts. 6 times 2 is 12. 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, and I could continue. And then my 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42. Right there I can stop because I can see that I have my lowest number that matches both 6 and 7 is 42. So my lowest common multiple is 42. Number 6 is determining unit rates. To figure this out, you need to ask yourself, what can I divide 3 by to get to 1? So I divide by 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So this answer is 6 over 1. Same thing down here. What can I divide 2 by to get to 1? 2 divided by 2 equals 1. So whatever I do to the top, I do to the bottom. 12 divided by 2 is also 6. So you get 6 over 1 again. For number 7, this says there are 6 minutes of commercials for every 24 minutes of TV. How many minutes of commercials are there in 1 hour and 36 minutes of television? So we know that our original ratio is going to be 6 minutes of commercials to 24 minutes of TV. This next one, it says how many minutes of commercials are there in 1 hour and 36 minutes. So figure that out. I know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. So 60 minutes plus the other 36 minutes will give me a grand total of 96 minutes. So now I need to ask myself, what can I multiply 24 by to get to 96? The answer is 4. So 24 times 4 would give me 96. So whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 6 times 4 would mean that there are 24 minutes of commercials to 96 minutes of television. For number 8, what percent of 70 is 28? To find 10% of 70, you move your decimal 1 spot to the left. So 10% is 7. And they want to know what percent is 28. So what can I multiply 7 by to get to 28? The answer is 4. Whatever I do to this side of the equal sign, I do to this side of the equal sign. 10 times 4 would be 40%. So 40% of 70 is 28. And our last problem is just determining of these are customary measurements or metric measurements. For an inch, that's a customary measurement. Meter is metric. Decimeter, metric. Mile, customary. Foot, customary. Ounce, customary. Gram, metric. See you tomorrow.